Because I know my style. If you saw my newsletter, I haven't worn it in a couple of years. No, a couple of months. And that was the nicest thing. So I was the forever intern. I was interning till I was 27. It's so hard to dial back, but you got still.
How does energy translate to styling?
Well, so basically, I woke up this morning and you know what's happening today? Well, what started happening yesterday in Rafah. So it was like an active thing because I realized that I've been spiraling into this era or aura of negativity, and it reminded me of who I was in my 20s, early to mid 20s, where you're still trying to figure yourself out. And I chose to pick colors that would get me out. You're still there. You could still think about and worry and stress about certain things that are external. But what happens is, like, I listen to a lot of Louise Hay. I have a healer who's my friend from Beirut, who's amazing. And I did a session with her like 10 days ago. And I realized that the more you actively choose to pull yourself out of a certain energy, the better it is for you. So I literally, with styling, it's all about that. Like, how can I make you feel like yourself? And how can I make you feel like your true self? And this is, today, what I'm wearing is my true self. Like, I am internally, my soul is colorful. And the more I spiral into the negativity, I go darker. So to pull myself out and to keep the energy positive, I have to kind of always balance out who I truly am stylistically and balance that out with how I feel emotionally.
Do you feel like you dress people like yourself without actually meaning to?
No, but maybe if I'm doing a shoot, maybe like a photo shoot for a campaign, there's always something, an element that's me. But when it comes to people, I'm very, very conscious that I'm here to help you. And so one of the first steps that I do when I'm dealing with a personal styling client is, let's go into your wardrobe. خاصة إحنا العرب, the Arabs, you're coming into my private space and you're going to see things and nobody's ever seen. And always the first session, they go into the restroom and they come back out dressed in an outfit I've dressed them in. By the second, third session, they're like, it's fine. And they're comfortable and they're open. So I let them lead their comfort zone. And why I do the wardrobe first is because we live in a world of excess. Apparently there's a study that shows that we wear 20% of our wardrobes and 80 is just hanging out in our closets. And us as Arabs especially, I think that ratio is much bigger because people have rooms and rooms and rails full of clothes. So I do not dress because we're not the same person, we're not the same personality, we're not the same lifestyle, we're not the same body type, and I have to respect where you're coming from. So every time I do dress a person, I'm like, okay, do you like this? How does this make you feel? And one of my major rules is, if you're fidgeting, you're uncomfortable. And if you're fidgeting, we need to find out why you're fidgeting. And if I can fix it, we'll fix it. If we can't, this item's not for you because it's no longer suiting you. Like you and I were sitting. How many times did I fidget?
A few times. No, I'm kidding. You did.
Because I know my style, and no way would I want a client to be dressed in anything that's not true to themselves. And styling is a journey. Like I might have the same pieces that I've had in my 20s, but I'm not wearing them in the same way I did back then because I'm not the same person. I'm not a wizard. I won't come in and fix someone's wardrobe and get them their style. It's a journey. I've had clients from 2019 who only wore neutrals. And now they injected color and I helped guide them through the colors that they actively injected into their wardrobe.
How can we overcome the taboo around rewearing our clothes?
It's my favorite thing to do is rewearing. Like, I'm trying to change that whole rhetoric, and we've lived so far into this life of excess. And Bahrain is, I think, the first places in the region where it's conscious. We are conscious of our spending. We're conscious of what we can buy and how many times we can buy it. Like for weddings, COVID taught us the biggest lesson. When we couldn't have weddings, when we couldn't dress up, when we couldn't go out, we had, I think I have like 10, 15 dresses over my adult lifespan that I've worn once or twice. So every time before I go to a wedding, I get excited because now I'm shopping in my own wardrobe and I could pop in a new accessory that I bought rather than invest in a dress that will hang back in my closet. I think that's the key. There's no taboo anymore, or there shouldn't be a taboo. It's the same thing with buying secondhand and pre-loved. Everyone says, oh, شلون تقدرين تلبسين شيء أحد ثاني يلبسه, and you don't know who that person is. And it's changing that whole like ideology that بالعكس, what I'm trying to do is prolong the life of a garment that someone else probably gave time and effort and money towards, but it no longer fits their lifestyle. I am the lucky one that gets this positive energy into my life. Like sometimes, like even what I'm wearing today, this was an old shirt. I haven't worn it in a couple of years, no, a couple of months, and it was starting to wear and tear. Off the high street, nothing important. And I was like, you know what, instead of taking it out, I'm going going through, this is my strapless era. So I'm like, I'm going to make it into a strapless top. Literally, strapless top. And now I love it all over again. Now I get to wear it in a different way. And it gets you excited. This whole ideology, our grandmothers used to go buy fabric when they needed it, take it to the tailor, get it made, wear it so many times. It's this whole ideology of capitalism. More, we need more. And طفرة النفط, when we got petrol discovered in the region. But we also need to understand that scaling back is a negative, rewearing is a negative. And how do you start? You lead by example, and you will find people. Like I have people that are now doing it and sending me really sweet messages like, thank you for inspiring us to be ourselves. And that was the nicest thing to get. That's one of the best compliments, that you give people the confidence to wear what they want with confidence, whether it's new or not.
When and why did you get into styling?
I've been obsessed with fashion. I think I started one of the first few blogs back in 2009. It was called Pretty Fashion Forward. A friend of mine got me a book by, oh my God, what was his name? He was a street style photographer, American, Scott Schumann. He got me the book, and I was working in the family business in Sitra, and I was like, oh, I needed a creative outlet. I knew that I loved fashion. I've always known that I've loved it. I grew up in surrounded by very eccentric and stylish women that I'm grateful for. And so when that opportunity came, and I was like, okay, 2009, I'm going to go take courses. And I went to London, took Introduction to Sewing. I took two more. I did Introduction to Fashion Journalism and one more. I can't remember now. Also involved in fashion. Oh, communication. Because I'm like, okay, in Bahrain, what am I going to do? There isn't really a fashion scene here at the time, especially 2009. There wasn't. Yeah. And let me see what I want to do. And originally I wanted to write, so I was with a friend while I was taking the courses, and he's like, just start a blog. And by then, he was Kuwaiti. So at the time, Kuwait was like booming with bloggers. It was like huge. And he's like, you never know, this could be like your segue into writing. And I did it, and I started it, and I loved it. And then got married, moved to Dubai, and I was like, okay, let me intern at Grazia. So I interned at Grazia. And by then I had also done two following courses. I did Introduction to Fashion Styling for women. Fashion styling for photo shoots. and Introduction to Styling, Personal Styling for Women. This is all between London College of Communication, London College of Fashion, and Central St. Martin's. And I interned for a stylist, and I'm still friends with her, in 2010. And I was the one that the teacher in class was like, research her, ask her questions. You could get an internship with her. And I was the nerd that went home, researched, asked her questions, put my hand up. And after class, she's like, do you want to come intern with me? And by then I was dating my husband. And it was a great excuse for me to stay in London because he was living in London then. So I did that and I loved it, came back. And on side gig, we were talking about this, my side hustle was styling, photo shoots. And then I realized also there was something, I had a knack. It was so easy for me and throughout my life to take people shopping. And when every time, from my cousins, my friends, my aunts, even now my daughter, like every time someone's hesitant, they call me up, Aysha, I'm buying this, tell me, is this good or not? And the minute I see a woman's body, I know what will suit her and what will not. I probably, at the time, especially as a young adult, didn't know why it didn't suit her. But I'm like, I'm not happy with this. I don't like this. And now, the longer I do this, the more I'm conscious, oh, I don't like this because the fabric doesn't suit you, or the hemline's too long, or it just doesn't suit your personality, or things like that. But at the time, it was just something that I was drawn to, and it was, I think, a gift. And then I honed it with courses and internships. I was the forever intern. I was interning till I was 27.
How does one book a styling session and what can one expect?
So basically, someone contacts me, I send them my questionnaire and my rates. And this is all a learning curve for me because I had to figure this out on my own. And the questionnaire is really just kind of like a guideline. What's your favorite item? It's like a list of different questions. And the longer I do it, the more questions I add because it's kind of like you learn through experiences. And then I say, let's book a call. I book a call with them. And I'm like, I look through your questionnaire. I notice A, B, and C. Can I come see your wardrobe? And this is the package that I recommend. And from that package and from that experience, I get to see them in their space. And it's their comfort zone. Your home, your wardrobe is usually your comfort zone. So it just kind of like works in their favor and mine because I'm not pushing you too much. And yeah, that's how it goes.
How do you incorporate healing and styling with your family?
So my son, who's 10 and a half, since he was 3, I think, I want to be a gemologist, I want to be a geologist. And he has an obsession with stones, like healing stones. He's just so into it. And I think he really fed that into me and my husband, me more so than the rest of the family. But I try a lot, especially like with like kids, I always do like, okay, if someone's mean to you, how does that make you feel? Like I always try to reflect. And healing stones, I have them all over the house, are part of that healing process for us. Because it's not necessarily like, okay, if you wear this item, it'll solve all your problems. It's more internalizing why you feel this way. How do you feel when you try to figure it out on your own? And I always do this with my son. I try to do this with my son and my daughter is we go for walks. I have this obsession with hitting my 10,000 steps. If you saw my newsletter, I was like, it's obsessed. It's like an obsession. And I was obsessed with it when I first got my Apple Watch, and now it's back since January. And I basically ask my son and my daughter, like, do you want me to listen? And I say this to my husband, do you want me to listen or do you want my advice? Asking them those 2 questions helps recalibrate the importance of what they're saying to themselves and their relationship to me. And it's changed their outlook towards conversing.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
We never do. Like, it's something that I've learned along the way. And I think also working with Yasmin, my healer, has helped me kind of like realize that there's certain aspects and certain instances where how does this make you feel? How can I help? And what's in my hands and what's not? Sometimes you feel the way you feel and you just want to talk about it. Sometimes you feel the way you feel and you need advice. And what we forget as adults and as humans and as partners is sometimes your partner, sometimes your child just wants you to listen. They don't need advice. They don't need you to rescue them all the time. And it's so hard to dial back, but you got to.
How do stones exude, give, or take away energy?
So basically, I learned this when I was living in Dubai. I had 2 kids under 2. I was alone. My husband was always traveling. I wasn't working. So there wasn't an outlet that was mine, that was creative. I started doing kinesiology, and I was wearing for the longest time a jade bracelet. That jade bracelet I had since 2006. So I had gone through breakups wearing that thing. I had gone through like stresses. I had gone through all this stuff, and it was always on me. And the first thing, during my second session, my kinesiologist was like, remove it. And the minute I took it off, I felt relieved. And basically what they tell you about stones is they carry energy. So for example, when you first go into a gem store or a healing center and you pick up stones that are for sale, you always have to cleanse their energy. Because whoever, for example, mined them, or whoever found them, or whoever is attaching their energy onto them. So you could potentially be carrying someone else's energy into you. And it could be with everything. And apparently, like, I was the same as you. I was very cynical. I'm like, I don't know what my son's talking about. I don't know what these people... And then COVID happened, and I really started to like delve deep into it. And apparently, if you look at certain stones under a microscope, the more energy you put into it, it starts to grow. Positive energy makes it grow. Negative energy makes it stop. And it was one of those articles that I read. I'm like, but it also made sense. And there's, if you read the Quran, it's mentioned. There's so many stones that are mentioned. And it's such a bizarre, I think, because you think it's a stone. It's not alive, but it is. And it feeds off you. And you feed off it. Everything is, or at some point is a source of energy. And it's what you put into it that you receive. So if you put into this marble statue negative energy, it'll radiate negativity. But if you feed it into positivity, it'll radiate positivity. It's the same thing with any relationship, any problem. And this was something that I also worked on with my healer a couple of weeks ago. I saw a piece of work that I did, and I was like, every time I see it, I get anxious. She's like, why? Did it not send you money? I'm like, yes. Did you not get your creativity out? I was like, yes. She's like, so why are you sending it this energy of negativity? Change that rhetoric. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for this. I can't wait to see what opportunities arise from you. And then a couple of days later, I get a call saying, oh, someone just saw your work and is interested and they want to work with you. And I'm like, see, everything. I don't think an item can solve a problem, but I think your approach to that problem can resolve it. And how you place certain things in your house, the intention as you place them will change that dynamic. I think that's my personal experience. Mm-hmm. I am not an expert by far, but this is what I feel.
You're a big advocate of self-love. When did you first realize that you loved yourself?
I think for me at the time, I think it was actually 2009. A lot happened. I always say that was like the best year of my life, but every year should be the best year of your life. But that was the turning point for me that year. My uncle's then wife gave me a CD because I had come out of my first very serious relationship and I was very devastated. It was nothing traumatic. Thankfully, like nothing really traumatic happened to me that scarred me. But that was enough of a experience or a breakup that shook me. And she gave me the CD. And she was like, listen to it. And it was Louise Hay. And basically, it's called I Can Do It. And I listened to it. And you have to listen to it in a space where you only listen to it for 30 days straight. And I did that. And my friends were going to murder me because I picked them up. And I was single at the time, newly single. So I'd pick them up. I was like, we're either listening to Silence or Louise Hay. I was like, that's it. And we ended up like either listening to her or listening to that. But she was the turning point. That was the turning point where I was like, okay, if I don't love myself, how do I expect anyone else to love me? If I don't care for myself, how do I expect anyone else to care for me? And in order for you to give love, you have to know love and understand it. It's still a struggle. It's still like everyone. It's so hard to actually, like one of her things is you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of you. I'm like, oh my God, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done. And me as a child of the 80s, all we do, we're people pleasers. يعني انخلقنا to please everyone around us. And to now be like, no, I need to also love myself in order to radiate the love. And so it was that. Like, I still am a work in progress. I think we all are. This is what's so nice about life. I don't want to be so static. I want to evolve. I want to learn. And I always tell my kids when they compare to each other, I'm like, don't compare yourself to your sister. Don't compare yourself to your friend from school or your friend from our compound or what have you. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Compare yourself to who you were a year ago. And if you've changed and evolved, then that's the best thing that you can ever give to yourself. And having an amazing healer, it works. Because sometimes we're human and we fall off and we spiral. And you need that positive anchor to kind of raise you up, assist in raising you up.
What's your biggest fear?
To be forgotten, I think. I want to leave a positive legacy in terms of career and in terms like when people think of me, I want them to think of Aysha as like someone, an anchor of, I want to be positive. And I try my best to be that, but sometimes the human in you messes you up. And then you dial it back and I sit there like, I should have been more positive. I should have done this. I shouldn't have said that. But then it's all part of your learning journey. So today I am better than I was yesterday. And tomorrow I'll be better than I was today. So yeah, I want to leave a legacy of learning and positivity and empowering women to love the skin they're in, no matter what shape, color, life you have. Women and men. I started doing men too.
Thank you.
Yeah, start doing men too.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, thank you, Aysha. You've been great. Is there anything else that you'd like to end this with?
Be kind to yourself and love yourself. And if you want to wear that top, wear that skirt, wear twice, 3 times, do it. And the best advice I can give you, and this is like my motto, I say to everyone, is I've got 3 rules. Before purchasing anything new, think, number 1, will I love this in 3 years' time? Number 2, and these are not in no particular order, can you see yourself wearing it in 3 different ways? And number 3 is, does this make you feel your authentic self? Or are you trying to dress as someone else? And yeah, peace and love. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you. I love